púlmx sin sai Sasquatch, Ronnie. Want to talk Sito púlmx. Hello, my name is Ronnie. I am of the Cowlitz Nation, Cowlitz Indian tribe. Pronouns are whichever you prefer. Normally I prefer they, but he and she also work just fine. I am a visual artist whose work has been featured in many things with my tribe. Many of our buildings are hotel and casino. I'm a DJ and producer here at Daybreak Star Radio. I used to run a website called Sci-Fi Monkeys for about 10 years, where I interviewed everyone in pop culture when it came to the nerd aspect of it, geek culture. And I've interviewed everyone from Henry Cavill to Kiefer Sutherland. I'm also a producing manager at Neo Trash Comics, which is a joint comic book company between some artists here, mostly in Portland and over in the UK. And I help my best friend run a staffing agency in which we staff conventions and stuff like that called Seacon Staffing. I look at it as giving Native artists a bigger voice. That's what I use my voice to do, because there's so much talent out there that has never gotten a moment just because they come from a res or their color's different than everybody else's or whatever it is. But now, like I said, when they created this radio station, it was no more about asking for a seat at the table. It was, we're gonna make our own table now. We've gone a long time in the entertainment industry where we had no place, or if we had a place, we had no say in it. Even to the aspect of music, we had no say. And even we live in a world right now where Brooke Simpson won The Voice, but they still don't play her on the radio. So that was part of my joy, was coming here to be able to help with that aspect of getting the Native voices out there. And I make sure that everything we do is culturally respectable, because we do answer to not just my tribe, but all 574 here in the United States and the hundreds in Canada, the First Nations tribes. We also we throw a lot of honor to the Indigenous nations across the globe too, because a lot of them have gone through the same struggles as Native Americans or First Nations. When it comes to my art, it's kind of a mixture of both my tribe and the tribe I actually grew up, the reservation I grew up next to, which was the Nisqually tribe. And just making sure that I'm honoring the past, because when it comes to the Cowlitz tribe, we lost a lot of our art during the great Indian Wars back in the day, and our reservation was totally decimated. So for me, it's more of just kind of like trying to bring it back along with other artists in our tribe, because we've, like our language too, we've lost a lot, and we're just trying to revitalize all of that, bring it back. It does seem like they want to be more open when they're talking to, they know another Native. Because a lot of us, when we try to have conversations with non-Natives about what we do or the struggles that we have, or like a lot of Natives write music about the struggles that we've gone through, people don't really want to talk about that because it makes them uncomfortable. Whereas if they want to interview with another Native, talk about what you want. We had the same struggles. We're ready. But you don't hear a lot of Natives go on, what's that one with Kelly Ripa? You don't hear a lot of Natives going on there screaming land back, and you just hear them talking about their project and moving on. But we can have full-on conversations with these artists about, like Stevie Salas or Elaine Miles, and like have full-on conversations about the issues we're having. If young Natives can see older Natives making it in the industry, they could have that chance too. That's why we like to make sure that it can be visibly seen all the time. That's why every interview we do, the last question is always some form of, what is your advice for Native youth out there today that are just trying to make it in the world? sometimes you get some of the most beautiful answers that Gary Farmer, which you may know from Reservation Dogs and Smoke Signals and stuff, he gave us this beautiful answer, and you guys can go watch the interview to check it out, where not only he just started out crying, Sherry and I did too. We were just like, that is, I was holding my heart like this, okay, we're gonna have to pause for a second here because this is emotion. It was, and it was just to see some of these actors and celebrities and musicians say that and know and get that feeling from them and know that they too want to make sure that they're seen, but not just for them, for the youth. Because Native history, and it's those are really rewarding to hear such amazing, poignant words come from some of these people, because what these people have done will create all kinds of better lives for Natives in the future. What they'll see they'll grow up to wanting to be leaders, wanting to be artists, musicians, movie stars, directors, writers, all because they saw another Native do it. And that's why it's important. When it came to Indigenous stuff, there wasn't a lot for me as a kid to really, as a nerd who, gotta go pick up the next Batman and Superman comic as soon as it hits the stand. There wasn't a lot of that in the aspect, and whenever they came out with a Native character in comic books and stuff like that, it was always a secondary. It was always there for a little bit. Most of my influences really came from things like, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Unfortunately, sadly, one of my very favorite books growing up was Ender's Game, and we all know how that turned out with especially as a two-spirit gay tribal member as myself. That was hard. Ender's Game was hard to turn around and be like, but you wrote that. I used to read a lot of Hispanic stuff back then because it was closer to what I felt, and whatever sci-fi I could get my hand on. Mostly just growing up, it was all about comic books, tons and tons of comic books. I still have a library at home now that rivals most comic book shops. So, oddly enough, the most iconic superhero or nerd thing for me growing up was Robin. Not Batman, it was Robin. I just always saw myself as Robin. I was like, oh, I could be that. I could totally be that. He's hot. He's got all the best toys. His boyfriend's a little older and a billionaire. But for me, it wasn't like the original Robin. For me, comics started in the 80s and we were introduced to a new Robin, not the Dick Grayson. We were introduced to a whole new Robin called Tim Drake. And he himself was a nerd and loved computers and doing this and could figure stuff out. And he was just more iconic to me. I was like, that's if I was a superhero, that's what I'd be. One, he was happy. He wasn't a brooding jerk like Batman all the time. None of that my way or the highway kind of. It was just a good kid that wanted to do good. That's all he was. It's just simple. He had no superpowers, nothing. He just wanted to be out there and help the world be better. Second was Wonder Woman, because she was just bad. She was just bad. Wonder Woman was lost. And she wasn't allowed, and in the comic book, she wasn't allowed to go home to Paradise Island when she left to enter man's world. And she was lost. She was lost in man's world, which is, I feel sometimes in my life, before I even got to this point, I had a very not great life. I just always felt like she was just, I identified with that, you know what I mean? There were two characters that were lost, didn't have their family that they had, and were just trying to do better in the world. As a Native American, it's always been the next 7 generations. That's the goal. Whatever we do has to make sure that the next 7 generations after us still prosper. And like I said, coming from the Cowlitz, who we lost a lot of things when we were put on our first reservation, then had our reservation taken from us. And so just go back to your lands, but there were no lands left. It was very important going forward to enrich ourselves in what we had lost so that we can move it forward. And I've always been a strong advocate for always involving the youth, which is something we do here. We always try to hire our youth interns. We have some really great ones that are all, from 16 to 21. And we keep teaching them these things, showing them the music of our past, the music that we're making now. It creates just a time capsule. And then hopefully they will be teaching people. It's the same thing that I do with my tribe. I'm also part of our cultural resources board, and I'm our powwow chair. So I run our powwows. I run the Cowlitz Tribe powwow. And like this year, our theme is, it's literally carrying our culture forward for the next generation. Because that's all we can do, is just teach the youth about our culture. Hopefully they have as much interest and fascination and love for it as the ones before them, and they continue carrying it forward. But this is definitely important because music is a part of everyone, and especially traditional Native music, and not just the traditional, the powwow, the drums. Any song that comes out of an Indigenous voice it's important. We got to keep it alive. Because, like I said, we didn't have a seat at the table before. I'm just really happy for Natives right now because we have, like I said, a seat, and people are paying attention to what we can do and realizing, we can make art, we can make music, we can be funny. It's not all gloom and doom. Stick with it. It's hard. It's really, really hard. It took me till I was in my 40s to finally make it somewhere where, I feel comfortable. I feel comfortable moving forward. I feel like I've actually accomplished something. But it's not gonna be like that for everyone. You have to stick with it, and you have to push forward. You cannot give up, because that's what they want you to do. It's what they always want you to do. No matter what, if you keep at it, it's gonna be a hard, hard road. There's gonna be ups, there's gonna be downs, but stick with it. And just because you're a kid out on a reservation and you think there's nothing out here for me, we live in a whole new world of technology. Don't be afraid to start making them TikTok videos, them reels. Don't be afraid. Get yourself out there. If that's what you want to do, if you want to make it in the industry, you got to put yourself out there and keep putting yourself out there, and do not give up. Period.